Hello, hello. What's up, Instagram? It's been quite a minute. So, I am Anjanika Brooks, and welcome to my page. I have been anticipating this live for some time. I'm really excited to be with you guys today because, as you know, I did a whole transition with my 9 to 5. And so that kind of threw my schedule off for a little bit, and I'm still working on it. But I wanted to be able to come and talk with you guys and also take any questions that you have. So I'm here. So I'm excited, and I'm going to jump right into my content today. So, today we are talking about when two things can be true. And this is for daughters who have lost their moms and in losing them either realized that they didn't have a very good relationship with them, or they knew beforehand that their mother could have been, you know, somewhat toxic or narcissistic. There are a lot of different labels we could use, but for all intents and purposes, you just didn't have a good relationship, a good mother-daughter relationship, and then you lost your mom. So that's what I'm talking about today. I want to preface the whole talk with saying I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed or certified in any way, and I am just basically living my truth. And so this is something that I've gone through personally, and I wrote a book about it. And you've probably seen the book if you've been to my page on Instagram or on Facebook. This is my book, Unmothered, A Daughter's Guide to Acceptance, Healing, and Renewal. So let's get into the topic today because I don't want to waste anybody's time. And so let's talk about it. When two things are true. So what do I mean by that? So I mean that for some of us that have, these difficult relationships or have had difficult relationships with our mothers, we probably knew that. But family tells us, society tells us, even the Bible tells us, that you're supposed to honor your parents, love your parents. And I totally agree with that. And that's why I try to separate myself in this space, because there are people that talk about having narcissistic or toxic mothers, and they handle it in a different way. So for me, I always loved my mother. I understood as I grew up that some of the things that she would say to me, some of the things she wouldn't do for me, weren't right, wasn't the way a parent should respond. I understood that. But that didn't stop me from having that love that a child would have for their mother. And, so even though I knew things weren't always done right with her, even though I knew I wanted to be treated better, and I definitely wanted us to have a better relationship, it did not happen. And so I spent a lot of my, I would say into my 20s, because that's when I lost her. I spent a lot of the time just trying to help her to be a better mother, trying to work on the relationship from my perspective. And so that's when, I learned that she just probably wasn't going to change. And so then we fast forward to when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was 26. And so I found out, and it was aggressive cancer. And in the span of about 6 months, I lost my mother. And so by this time, I think I had a birthday, right at the end there. I turned 27. So I've been without my mother for 20 years. And it's been difficult. And the reason it's been difficult because of those two things being true. While I was grieving, I didn't really understand why I was staying stuck. And the reason I was staying stuck was because we didn't have the relationship that I wanted. And as much as I tried, it was not going to happen. And as much as I willed it and wanted and prayed, she wasn't changing. And so when she passed away, I realized that I never had a chance to grieve the mother-daughter relationship. So two things can be true. You can love your mother very much, and on the other hand, have pain from some of the things that she puts you through, from some of the drama, from some of the toxicity, from, just her not showing up as you would expect a mother to do. And so I was feeling that, and I struggled with it. And I think I've told you guys, it took me 19 years to finally figure out what was the problem. And the problem was that I did not want to say that my mother wasn't the mother that I wanted. She wasn't good to me. She wasn't always supportive. I didn't want to say those things. And society teaches us that you can't, you shouldn't talk bad about mothers, and I love that. We definitely should respect them. But for those of us who know what the truth is inside these mother-daughter relationships, we have a responsibility to ourselves to latch on to that truth and to figure our way out, despite what society and what family says, because there is no hurt like that, I think, between a mother and a child when you feel rejected. And so that's why I want to talk about it. I don't think we talk about it enough. And I do know that many of us out there really, really loved and adored and cared for our moms. But at the same time, we understood that she didn't do things right by us. And we need to heal from that. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what the book is about. The trauma that comes from some of the things that were said, to us, some of the things that were done or not done, and how we can now move forward as grown women and heal and have the life and the families that we want, the careers, everything that we want, the friendships, because it affects all of that. And so in the book, I talk about healing being part 2 of the healing journey. It's broken down into acceptance, healing, and renewal. So the healing piece specifically deals with grief and forgiveness. And so the first part of grief is, like I said, you have to go back and think about the mother-daughter relationship and let it go. You have to let it go. You have to let go of the fact that you thought you were going to have, maybe a good friend eventually out of your mom. You thought y'all were going to be close. Y'all were going to do so many things. She was going to be there to see the grandbabies. You thought it was going to be amazing, and that's not what happened. And so you have to let that go, because our paths are whatever God makes them to be. And so if that wasn't meant for us. If you didn't have that relationship with your mother, then it wasn't meant for you to have. Because if it was, then she would be who she was supposed to be. So you have to find some way to grieve the mother-daughter relationship, the loss of that. You're not going to have that with your mother. Okay? And I know that she's passed away, but I'm saying you have to go back and put yourself in the mindset of, if she were here, you still would not have that relationship, because she just wasn't the mother to do that. And if by some chance, a miracle would have happened or something would have happened and she would have changed, that would have been amazing and wonderful. But that's not the case a lot of the time. We pray for it. We want it. We certainly want to be in harmony, but we can't change people. We have to learn to accept them for who they are. So I would say to just try your best to walk through those things that you didn't have or aren't going to have. And you may see that in doing that, God may put some other people in your life. He may put some people there that act or feel in kind of like a mom, or that you can go to, or just really strong friendships. And it's not to replace your mother, but it's just to replace the feeling that you might need in your heart that would make you feel better, that you're not doing this whole thing alone. Because I know that was one of the issues for me. So after you begin the grieving process over the loss of the mother-daughter relationship, then I think it's much easier. Easy is probably the wrong word. It's better to start looking at the loss of your mom physically. That she's not going to be around, regardless of whatever drama she would bring when she was around, because boy, my mama could bring the drama. But then she also had gifts and talents too. And so in grieving her physically not being here, I have to also grieve her loss of potential. She's not going to be here to do all the amazing things that I thought she could do. She's not going to be here to just be funny, because she was funny. Those are things that we won't have. And so you have to allow yourself to feel that. There's nothing wrong with experiencing those two emotions at the same time. One, where you know that some of the things were wrong, but the other, where you absolutely loved your mother and nothing can change that. There's nothing wrong with those two things being true at the same time. It's just how we navigate it, how we let it materialize inside us and around us. That is the difference. That is what makes or breaks getting through the grieving process and on to forgiveness and renewal. So that is basically what I have for you today, is that in grieving, I think that you have to look at the double grief, which is the loss of the mother-daughter relationship, and then dealing with physically not having her nearby, not hearing her voice, not seeing her. Because I know if I could choose it all over again, as awful as my mom could be sometimes, I still would want her here. So it's been very, very difficult just over the years, just not having her. Just because you just think, they're always going to be here. A lot of times you just think that with your parents. And even as they get up in age. And then for me, my mother didn't get old. She didn't grow old. She was 45 when she passed away. And so that to me is like you have probably half your life left, or we would hope. And so it's important that we care for ourselves now. Our mothers aren't here, but some of the scarring is still here. And so my call is to help you in any way that I can to get through this process. And I say it's my call because I literally heard God speak to me after I laid my mother to rest and I had gotten back home, because she was living in North Carolina. I live outside of the D.C. I live in the D.C. area, so in Virginia. After I got back here, I literally heard God speak to me and say, you have to write a book and you have to tell people what happened, how you got through this. There will be other people who experience bad relationships with their mothers, but yet they still love and care for them, and they will need to know how to do this, because it seemed at the time an unbearable position I was in. It seemed like something that I couldn't do. It was indescribable, the pain that I was going through. But it seemed like it got worse when I realized all the things that I was missing and that I wasn't going to have. And I think that's why I stayed in the loop. So I'm here giving you the steps that God gave me, which was you need to grieve the loss of your relationship, and then you can work on the physical loss. And then after you do that, you can work on forgiveness. And so forgiveness is another part of healing. I'm not talking about forgiveness today because I think it deserves its own time. It deserves to be, focused on a little bit more than what we have time for today. But I just wanted to make sure I brought you these 2 points, and I wanted to let you know that it is perfectly okay if you feel these 2 conflicting emotions at the same time and you don't know what to do. So again, I'm not a therapist, just a woman who's lived this journey and is still healing and still grieving, but I'm much further than I was before. Like I'm way on the other side of it, where I can experience joy. I can think about my mom and laugh. I can think about some things and still get angry, but it doesn't take me down because I've already gone through the forgiveness piece as well. But like I said, all the steps are in my book, and if you don't have the book, you can also go on my website and you'll see the steps. I have a blog post that talks about the steps, and you can probably, if you search through my Instagram, my Facebook, I've laid out the steps multiple times. Let me see a question here. Oh, thank you. It says that you're a great mom through the pain that you went through. I think that we all have the ability to be great moms, and nobody's going to be perfect, and I didn't expect my mother to be perfect either. It's just we have to keep trying, and we have to come from a place of love. And sometimes for our moms, when they're broken, when they've gone through a lot, like my mom had, and if you read the book, I talk about some of the things she went through. They're broken too, and they don't know how to navigate it. They may not have someone to help them. Back then, therapy was almost unheard of. You didn't even talk about it that much unless it was like a severe mental problem. And so they didn't have that. And I'm not making an excuse and saying, you can just be whoever you are and treat people any kind of way. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying have empathy and understand that your mother probably went through something too. And that is the difference here. That is what I want to be different about the way I help people, is that I want you to know it's okay to love somebody and also not like them or not like how they treat you. That is okay, and nobody's perfect. And so in doing so, we ourselves, those of us that are moms, will hopefully learn how to be better too. So if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the comments. Thank you so much for everybody that joined today too. I just wanted to make sure I got on here, showed my face, went live, because I enjoy talking with you guys, and I haven't been able to do it in a couple of months, like I said, with the transition to this new job that I have. But new job is going well. I'm still editing, and so that's fun for me because I love writing and editing. But I definitely want to get back to doing lives regularly and seeing how I can assist or help if you are in the middle of grief and you're trying to heal and you also had a narcissistic or toxic mother. So guys, that's my talk. If you are catching the replay and you want to leave a comment or you want to DM me, you can do that. I do have consultations where I can listen to you and see if there's anything that I can do to help. I always recommend therapy, as I'm not a licensed therapist myself, but I'm here going through this healing journey, and I'm here to walk with you if you would like that. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will hopefully see you guys soon. Bye.